Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. For this one we're going to revisit the Highlands in Scotland today, and this is a brewery who I personally believe are very up and coming, and their beers are really good. I actually saw these on export in France, so I think there's very exciting times ahead for this brewery. But we're going to revisit the Black Isle today and have a taste of the Cromarty Brewing Company's second anniversary ale. As I've mentioned to you in numerous beer reviews before that have been Scottish beers, there's a lot of new breweries just popping up in Scotland with the recent boom we've had in craft brewing, and these guys are really one I think to watch out for. I've been very impressed with the beers I've had from these guys so far. But as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a brief history of the brewery and tell you a little bit about where the beer comes from. And as always, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, feel free to go on towards the second part of the video and you will catch that particular segment, and I'll put the little click box up here for you to fast forward there again. You can also find the brewery website in the video description along with the link to my other two Cromarty beer reviews. So anyway, as I mentioned to you, the Cromarty Brewery is yet another one of the breweries that have appeared in the last few years with the recent boom in Scottish craft brewing. This guy is actually located 20 miles away from Inverness on the small peninsula to the north of the city known as the Black Isle, and as I mentioned to you about 2 or 3 reviews ago, that's also home to the Black Isle Brewery as well in the southern part of the peninsula, but these guys are up at the far end of the peninsula in Cromarty Village. So apparently the small scale home brewing was actually popular in Cromarty during the 17th century as well, and in this period a lot of grain was actually grown on local farms that would be used as malt in ale, and the introduction of the London porters actually led to large amounts of these local grains being exported, and this put a bit of a strain on local landowners who were actually being encouraged by the government to form their own breweries at the time. And as I mentioned to you in the Black Isle review that I did for you before, the Black Isle brewery review, this soil that you get on the Black Isle is highly regarded as a source for malt in whiskey and in beer obviously as well. It's really top-notch stuff you get out of this part of the country. But the original Cromarty brewery that this guy takes its name after was established by George and Alexander Ross in the year 1790, and it's located next to a burn on the eastern extremity of the Cromarty village at the corner of Miller Road and Burnside Place, and it was actually quite a large brewery considering the times, and it's thought that the port at Cromarty was actually used to export beer in addition to the cereals that the Black Isle was renowned for and famous for. But the brewery actually hit financial difficulties in the 1820s, and this was when several whisky distilleries were opening up on the Black Isle, and the brewery actually ceased operations in the 1850s. There was apparently reports of someone going up on the brewery roof and stealing the lead out of the pipes to sell, and this was one of the things that apparently drove the original Cromarty brewery into bankruptcy, oddly enough. But this brewery, to move on to the modern Cromarty Brewery, this one is a family-run business that consists of Craig, Chap and Jenny Middleton, and Craig is actually a graduate of the famous brewing programme at Heriot-Watt University, and this has produced a number of craft brewers that are well known in the industry. Of course you have Baldur Garrison at Einstök Brewery in Iceland, one of my favourite ones in fact. But while studying at Heriot-Watt, Craig has been well known to produce beer in his student halls and flat basements, and after he completed his degree he actually worked for a period in Odell's Brewery in Colorado, a very good brewery over there actually in my opinion, and he also worked in the Cairngorm Brewery in Aviemore as well. But while working in these breweries, Craig decided that he wanted to put his own beer on the market, and he applied for grants and bank loans to actually finance the foundation of the Cromarty Brewery. And Craig's dad Chap is actually the brewery engineer and is quite involved with the maintenance of the brewing equipment, while his mum Jenny actually deals largely with the admin side of the brewery. But work on the brewery building commenced in the spring of 2011. As you can see, a very new brewery, only about 2 or 3 years old, and this hectic year actually culminated with the production of the first casks on the 19th of December 2011, just in time for Christmas. And there's also a blog on the brewery website, which as I mentioned to you is in the video description there, so check that out and keep up to date with them and like them on Facebook and all of that sort of thing as well. That way you'll get the most up-to-date updates on this, or the most up-to-date information rather, on this brewery. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, in their core range if you like, you've got the Brewed Awakening, which has the purple label. This is a coffee infused stout. You get the Red Rocker, which has the red label. It's a red rye dry hoppy extravaganza beer as they describe it. Hit the Up, which is green labelled, and this is a fruity hoppy heaven, they say. Happy Chappy, which is the blue one, and this is a pale ale, if you like. Oh, sorry, that's the orange one. The Happy Chappy is the orange one. The Rogue Wave is the blue one. In fact, both very, very good beers in my opinion. These are the two that I reviewed for you already, and there's also been a few others that have only been produced for tap as far as I can tell. This includes the Islands Shuffle and the Atlantic Drift, and there's been a few new ones as well. And they also have a number of collaboration beers, and they did one with Brewdog actually, which was called the Black Rocker, and this is brewed by Sarah from the Brewdog Bar in Aberdeen, and this one is supposed to be a dark version of the Red Rocker beer. And there have also been a few other collaborations as well, one with the Tempest Brewery, who I did a review for before. I think I did the Marmalade on Toast one, in fact, with the Brewdog collaboration there. I need to get more of the Tempest beers to review for you at some stage as well. So let's move on to this guy itself. This guy is a 9% barley wine ale. It's double dry hop with Columbus hops, and it uses Maris Otter and crystal malts, and apparently Columbus was the hop that really got Craig into the hop forward beers, so this one should be a really interesting one to try. And obviously it's quite special because it's the 2nd anniversary ale as well. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. I think my light's kind of shining on it a little bit there. I'll just put that down for you so you can see it a little bit better. As you can see, it's quite a nice one here. I really like the labels they put on these guys, and it's all the beers have similar labels. As I was mentioning to you when I read out the different ones there, they're all just different colours, and you can see here this is the Cromarty Brewing crest, if you like. And I really like the way they present these beers, I have to say. But this is a special beer. I'm not sure how widely you will get this, and maybe they might actually rename it and produce it as a regular brew in future, because it's supposed to be a very, very good beer. But as I say to you, it's a 9% barley wine, and it's got Columbus hops and a lot of Maris Otter and crystal malt. So let's get this guy open and see how we get on with the tasting here. Quite a lot of wax coming off that at the start there. But yeah, let's get this guy out and into the glass then. Quite a lot of aroma coming off this one just at the start, I have to say. Let's just sugar up the last little bit, and just in case there's any sediment, there was a little bit just coming out there actually. So yeah, this is the guy poured up. Just need to make sure it doesn't go over the edge. It looks as if it's going to be okay. This guy actually has a best before date on it as well, which is the 15th of January 2015. So as you can see, this guy has poured a really beautiful kind of really coppery amber colour, quite a bright copper amber colour actually. It's got a finger, maybe a finger and a half actually, I think that is fairer. It's got a finger and a half of a nice sort of beigey tan head on it there. Really, really nice looking beer actually. If I put my fingers behind it, as you can see, very, very hazy. And it's got quite a pungent aroma on it as well. A lot of kind of grapefruit. You can really tell that Columbus hop in there. It's quite a hop forward beer for a barley wine actually, just by the smell of it. But for the aroma here, as I'm saying, it is very, very hop forward. Like I say, you've got a lot of kind of caramel malts in there, and I think there's a little bit of roasted character just hiding as well. Let's turn this guy back round. But yeah, a lot of kind of really, it's overloaded with kind of hops and fruity character as well. Yeah, you're getting a good bit of pine resin out of this guy. It's got a lot of the nice kind of grapefruit and a little bit of the citricy things, a lot of pine resin thing in there, and you've got a little bit of dark fruit as well, just the sort of dried raisins and plums and stuff like that too. It actually mixes very well, the fruit. It's quite difficult to pick up the little individual kind of elements of it. But yeah, it's quite, like I say, it's quite piney resiny. I think it's quite resiny in that sense. You've got a nice little bit of citric fruit in there, sort of. I don't know whether it's lemons or oranges, but there's a good bit of citric to it as well. And you've got the nice sort of dried raisins and plums too. And I think there's a little bit of kind of roasted caramel character to it as well, but it is quite faint. It is mainly, the aroma is mainly focused on the fruits in this guy as well. And I think there might even just be, I was smelling it there, and it's got a little bit of dark character to it. When you actually like properly breathe it in, you can just pick up a little tiny hint of a sort of rummy smell to it, so like a little kind of woody smell. So it's a really interesting smelling beer, in fact. I'll do that again actually. I'll give it a taste and then sugar it up again, but as you can see the head's going down on it quite nicely just to leave a nice kind of fairly thickish layer. But let's give it a taste and see how we get on. Now, wow, very big malty opening on that beer. That's a really interesting one. I've never quite had one that's like that, because to me it almost seems to be pushing the border between a barley wine and a sort of double IPA. It has that really nice kind of malty, warm background that you would expect from the barley wine, but on top of that, just on the end, you're getting the sort of blast of hops that you would expect from the double IPA. The double IPA, of course, the reason I say double IPA is because you expect a sort of big malty base on this one. But yeah, in terms of the flavour here, there's a lot of roasted kind of caramel sweetness in there. At the start, it's the roasted character is really well done actually. It blends really well with the rest of the flavour, and I'm picking up some sort of woody note in it as well. It's actually the malt base on this guy blends together, and on the aftertaste you're getting all three elements of it: the nice roast, the caramel, the roasted malt, and the kind of woody flavours too. And then on top of that, you've just got this sort of resinous kind of hop bitterness on it. It's really interesting. Yeah, honestly, this is a beautiful beer. Really, you have to give this a try if you see it. I don't know how long they're going to do it for. It's an anniversary beer. Give it a try if you see it. It really is beautiful. But yeah, like I say, you're opening up with that nice sort of malt, that really nice malty caramel roasted character, and it has just a nice underlying of kind of a bit of toasted wood or something like that. It's got a really nice woody element that mixes in with the malt base, and then on the end you're getting the nice fruity hoppy blast in there. You're getting a lot of nice dried raisin and plum kind of fruits in there, and the sort of pine resin is just lying in there too. It's really nice, and I think there is just a little hint of sort of grapefruit and citrus that you would associate normally with this Columbus hop. This is really beautiful beer. Like I say, it does seem to push the sort of barriers between a barley wine and a double IPA. It's got the characteristics of both, but I mean, who cares? It's a brilliant beer. Really good. I'm not going to sit and nitpick over whether it's this style or that. It's a brilliant beer, and that's what matters. With the mouthfeel on this one, without question, full-bodied. You can't really say much about that. It actually, when you take it in, it's got a nice little oily feel to it, and it's actually kind of quite wet, and it feels like really quite drinkable. But then when it sort of passes over the tongue, it gets more and more viscous actually, but it suits it really well. It sort of helps bring out the barley wine side of the beer, you know, the really very big malty base with the roasted caramel, the woody elements and all of this sort of thing. And it's actually, now that I think about the flavour a bit more, you're actually getting quite a little bit of the kind of dark fruits in the background there that work really well with this. It's just such a beautiful beer. The carbonation on it's very soft, and it's got quite a little bit of alcohol warmth to it as well, and I would say it's got a slight little bit of dry character on the end, and that's where you're starting to get some of the dark fruit flavours coming out a little bit more, and you're just getting that kind of lying of piney resin there. But yeah, like I say, just in the sort of front of the tongue you're getting this nice piney resin, grapefruity and citrusy flavour. Then on the back of the tongue you're getting this nice underlying kind of roasted caramel and woody element that you would expect from the barley wine ale. This guy is really, really nicely done. Like when I tried I think it was the Nonya number 100, and that was a really, really nice beer. It wasn't what I expected at all from the barley wine, but this guy really, really is. It's a nice, really unique take on it with this sort of hoppy blast that you get from it. It's a really, really awesome beer, and I highly recommend you try this. Like I'm saying, some really nice roasted caramel elements in the opening there, with a nice just woody blend of flavours that kind of comes in there, and it's a very, very kind of syrupy. This is a beer you want to just sit and sip. I actually really would hope that they would consider doing this as a regular beer at some point, or even a seasonal, something like that, because it seems an awful shame that they've produced something that's this good and it's only going to be, you know, it's only a one-off brew. I would really like to see them do it again. So if you get the chance to try this beer, you know, I 100% recommend that you try this one. You're not going to be disappointed with any of the Cromarty beers, but really, if you get the chance to get this one, buy it and just enjoy it. It's a really, really beautiful beer, and as I've said, I really think these guys are one of the up-and-coming craft breweries. I saw their beers in Paris when I was there a couple of months ago actually, and I was really surprised because I've only seen their beers recently, and they must be doing very, very well if they're getting their beers exported to Europe already. So give the Cromarty Brewery a check out. Like I say, I think there's big things to come from this brewery in the future. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews. I hope you found my take on this beer really interesting, and as always, if you have tried the beer, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on it. I think this is a really awesome beer, so this is one of the best ones I've reviewed, in fact, so give it a try if you get the chance, and let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on it. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Support your local craft breweries, and hopefully you enjoy my beer reviews, and I'll be back soon with more. Cheers.